Another episode of the Firearms Insider Gun and Gear Review Podcast. This is episode 99. On this show, we showcase gun reviews, gear, and anything else a gun enthusiast may be looking for. We strive to evaluate products from an unbiased and honest perspective. I'm your host, Ryan Cross from the Firearms Radio Network, your source for broadcasts for shooters, hunters, and gun enthusiasts. Today, I have with me a full house. We got Tony, we got TJ, and we got Rob. How's it going, guys?
It's going great.
Awesome. Couldn't be better for us twins.
Yeah, I'm doing good, Ryan.
Awesome. Good to hear it. Doing good. Doing good myself. So yeah, let's just get right into what everyone did in guns or outdoor firearms related activities this week.
Yeah, I guess I'll start since mine's probably the simplest. I didn't do too terribly much, except I did order a new rifle. Ordered an H&R handy rifle in 300 blackout. It's kind of the collaboration with AAC. I think it's got AAC's logo on it on the side, so I think it was some kind of collaboration. It's a single shot break action rifle in 300 blackout with a 16-inch barrel and a kind of reduced length of pull stock on it. So this is probably the most compact rifle you can get. This thing is tiny with a 16-inch barrel and no moving action. It's actually, I think, maybe about half an inch longer than just the stock of my 1022. And I think it came in at 29 3/4 inches. Let me double check. Yep, 29 3/4 inches. And that's with the 16-inch full-length barrel. So it's pretty cool. I look forward to shooting it. I ordered some ammo, scope, sling, all the goodies you need for it. So that stuff will be in on Thursday, and I'll hopefully get to shoot it this weekend.
Very cool. How about you, Tony? Or Rob, sorry. Whoever wants to go first or next.
You go, Tony.
All right. I finally took my new rifle build out to 100 yards, which I've been jonesing to do to see how it groups. Sucker came in at slightly over an inch with Walmart ammo, so I was really blown away by it. And then I did it again and again, so pretty much it groups average out to about 2 inches at 100 yards for iron sight use with a PSA build. So that pretty much blows everything people say on the internet out of the water. They're full of crap. And I think when you want to do something, you go out and do it. I think people on the internet do more talking than shooting, and you need to do more shooting than talking if you want to get good at it.
It's a pretty good observation, Tony. A lot more talking than shooting.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Hey, Ryan, I do want to thank you for plugging my the One Team One Fight event that I did 2 weeks ago, although it already completed on the last show, but that was a good event. We had a great time, raised a bunch of money for the charities, and as an RSO, I didn't get to shoot a whole lot, but at the end of the day, I did get to cap off a full mag on a Uzi, and that was a hoot. Never shot a full auto Uzi before, and that was fun.
Nice.
Over the weekend, I went
Sounds
to the range. Oh, it was a blast. It was an absolute blast. The bay I was at was all silencers. Almost every silencer you can imagine.
Nice.
Yeah. Last night I did a rifle match at the local rifle range, just kind of an outlaw match with a silenced Devore, and then over the weekend I did a couple of trips to the range to sight in a few of my guns. Had a great time.
Awesome. Yeah, I actually was on another podcast on bright and early last Sunday morning. It's the projects or the Armed Squirrels Project. I know it's a funny name, but a couple podcasters by the name of Styx and Toby had me on there. They were doing a purely just hunting episode where you talk about our hunting experiences and things that we've done for better success. And Toby he does the Armed Couples podcast, and I've done his logo before. So we're Facebook friends, so he was familiar that I kind of have a hunting-themed graphic design business, and he gave me a lot of opportunities to plug my freelance business, as well as we talked a lot of hunting, and he was kind of a newbie at it, so he wanted to ask a bunch of questions on what to do, what not to do, and each and every step. So that was kind of fun. Definitely worth waking up early on a Sunday for. And then I had my girlfriend and I shot our bows. So she's got a diamond compound bow, and I just used my dad's Hoyt, and so we did some shooting there, and then took her bow to the shop and stood in line while the late bow hunters were frantically trying to get their bows tuned up since the season had already opened. But we just had a couple of maintenance things to do on hers. But that's pretty much what we did, and I've been... The only other thing is I installed a new handguard on my AK, and I'll be reviewing that today, the AK Zukov handguard. So that'll be fun.
Sweet. Yeah, I'll have to listen to that show. I've heard of it before. I'm just very... I'm usually kind of hesitant to get into new podcasts because I tend to try to get way too into them and listen to all the back episodes, and I just don't have time for them. So I'll definitely have to listen to yours at least. Because it sounds pretty interesting, because I'm definitely a newbie when it comes to hunting as well, because I've mostly just kind of shot for fun, and I've only gone hunting maybe 3 times, and I've killed 1 squirrel, so...
Wow.
Something I'm going to try out this year.
I remember Styx. He was with the Polite Society podcast with Paul Latham.
Yep.
He went off and started doing this. Yeah, I remember him from that. He's a pretty nice guy. Sounds like big dude too.
Yeah. I did Paul's logo too back before he changed the name of his podcast, and he just kind of carried it on through the new name. But it was pretty good. We talked because I'm in the Pacific Northwest, and I think Toby's in Nebraska, and I think Styx is somewhere in the Midwest Southern area. I can't remember exactly, but pretty good different viewpoints as far as stand hunting versus spotting and stalking, which I'm more familiar with up here. So very good for no matter what I think which region you are in the country. Good information from either side. So
you are aware of the third mode of hunting, right? My favorite mode of hunting. The drive-by.
The drive-by
with your car.
We did mention that actually. We did. We talked about the different ways of harvesting game, and we were like muzzleloader, archery, modern firearm, F-350. So.
Yeah, that's the Jersey method of hunting right there. Run over them with a car.
Yeah. So I think it's episode 74, and they even named it after me. So I think it's called Hunter of Design, which is my business name. So it should be easy to find.
Nice.
Well, yeah.
If you really wanted to be nice to the fans, you could drop a link in the show notes, and that way they won't have to go dig for it.
Yeah, I'll do that. I'll do that. So anyway, getting into announcements. Of course, this podcast, the bandwidth is sponsored by Patriot Patch Co. That's myself and Jacob Challen's morale patch company. We're working on some T-shirts and stuff too. But if you wanted to go to patriotpatch.co, the website, and take a look at some of these custom patches that we have available for pre-order, we got Bullet Bill from Super Mario. We've got Hello, My Name Is name tag patch that you can write on with a Sharpie and get yourself in all sorts of trouble. We got some In God We Trust patches, and of course we still got the I'm Your Huckleberry patch, which has been our #1 seller. So make sure you go on over to patriotpatch.co and check all that out. Guests are always welcome on the show, so if you want to come on the show, go ahead and email me at cross@firearmsradio.tv, and we can set that up. And if you're in the market for a new Kydex holster for your handgun or your magazines, check out Bravo Concealment. There's a 10% off promo code available to us for your next order. That's RTT Combo 10. So if you wanted to swing by and purchase anything from their online shop, use that promo code and get 10% off your entire order. So now I believe we've got some housekeeping and some listener input to get into before we get into the meat of the show. Isn't that right, TJ? Is he there?
Yeah, TJ's there.
Yep. Sorry about that. I was muted. I believe last week I misspoke on episode 98 when we were talking about the quarter circle 10 AR upper, and just need to take this opportunity to, I guess, correct my error. I had said that the quarter circle 10 was the budget entry level AR on the 9mm on the market, but what I was actually thinking about was the new Frontier Armory C9. I believe we talked about that a couple months ago, and granted the quarter circle 10 is less expensive than some of the other options out there, but the new Frontier is even less so than that. It seems like you can build the quarter circle 10 for roughly $340 and up, depending on the lower parts kit and stock you go with, and that's based on like a basic lower parts kit and buffer kit from Palmetto State Armory, which adds about $100 to the lower price. So you could go up from there, but you can get the new Frontier for $289 once they're available, because they're not currently available, and $170 stripped. So basically, it's about $60 to $80 depending on what options you go with, cheaper than the quarter circle 10. So I just wanted to put that back out there, just correct myself from last week. And we had a listener on Facebook comment on our 3-gun series, I guess you could say. It says Alex Melnichek. I think he's been on Handgun Radio a time or two, maybe Gun Guy Radio, I forget which one, with Ryan Machad. And he's a 3-gun competitor and USPSA competitor, and he shoots for the Immortal Arms and Lucas Oil outdoor shooting teams. And so his comment was talking about some of the budget, I guess, AR, that Armalite 18-inch 3-gun rifle, and some of the shotgun stuff. So I'm going to just read it real quick. Says, I finally caught up on the podcast. Good show, guys. The Armalite 18-inch 3-gun rifle is about the best thing on the market, dollar for dollar. The tunable brake is very interesting. You don't use the set screws as most people think by threading them in or out to tune. You actually thread them all the way in and then start drilling a hole through the center of the set screw. Basically, you stand and fire the gun freestyle. Generally, a right-handed shooter will push the gun to the right during recoil. You start with a small 1/32 inch or 1/16 inch hole and continue increasing the hole size until the rifle doesn't push away from you in recoil. If it starts pushing to the left too much because you've gone too large, then needed hole size, you drill the left size incrementally larger until it balances. If it can't be balanced, take the set screw out that was drilled too big, put a fresh one in, and start over. Then you do the same thing with the top set screw to stop the rifle from climbing. You'll get to the point where the brake is tuned perfectly to your ammo and your target will never leave your reticle. And his second comment was also, not sure if this episode or the following one where you guys mentioned the JM Pro shotgun, out of the box, it's fairly solid, but some people have had light strike issues, me included. To fix that, buy a Ruger 1022 extra power hammer spring from Wolf to swap out the factory Mossberg hammer spring. Problem solved. I've actually sold off both of my JM Pros and bought a Beretta 1301 Competition 24-inch. Incredible gun, ridiculously fast action, and super reliable. So I just thought those were pretty interesting, getting some first-hand input on some stuff we talked about on the show. So kind of interesting. You buy a Ruger part to put in a Mossberg shotgun to make it run right.
Yeah, I wish that worked more often.
Right. And that's those tunable ports. I've never seen anybody do that. They just pull out, whichever ones, and just put them in and out until they bounce, kind of thing. But never seen somebody tune them by drilling them like that. Yeah,
that's interesting. I also got some listener feedback via email, and this is from Matthew S. He said that it was the last episode we talked about the Tactical Walls issue box, which is a tissue box that conceals a handgun. He said, I have an issue box and one other concealment option from Tactical Walls. Just a few things stood out that should be mentioned with the issue box. First, only pistols with shortened carry grips will fit, but it can take a long barrel variant of those, like the XDS-40 from Springfield. It requires specialty short height tissue boxes, not normal ones, to leave space for the handgun. So when you go to the store, you got to look for kind of shortened height boxes of tissues. Personally, I would say it's okay for the cost, but I much prefer the clock for a concealment option because it can fit any handgun and no one suspects it. So I thanked him a lot for that email, and he sent me some pretty cool information. He's going to be over at the Bullpup Shoot here in September, and so that'll be cool that he gets to go to that and shoot some awesome bullpups that he's working on. So thanks for that email. So now we're going to get into the main product spotlight. First up, we got the Mossberg Patriot. We might have talked about this a little bit before, just hitting on it again because now it's available in camouflage patterns. So it's available in a cryptic Highlander pattern, which is just, I think it's one of my favorite of the more modern camouflage patterns because it looks so, I guess, digital. So that's available in 243, 308, 270, and 30-06, as well as 300 Win Mag. And the MSRPs on those, working at like 426 for the 308, I believe. Yeah, 426. And then if you wanted the 300 Win Mag, same price. And I think they're all the same price, 243. Yep, all for 26. So that's not a bad price for a bolt-action rifle that's got a custom camouflage pattern on there. And then obviously the strengths of the Patriot platform or rifle is that it uses a box magazine. It's got a 13.75 length of pull. It's got a 1 in 10 twist barrel, at least for the 243. Obviously, the rated twist rate is going to be different for whatever you're looking at. 301 mag. Looks like you're going to be looking at a also 1 in 10 twist. Let's pick something else. 270. That's going to be a also 1 in 10. I think they're all 1 in 10 actually.
Barrel length's probably 1 in 10.
Yeah. Barrel length's 22. It's got Weaver style bases, and its weight is 6.5 pounds, which isn't all that bad. When you put a scope on there, it should be a little bit south of 10 pounds, depending on what scope you use. But yeah, a lot of people ask me, for what's a budget hunting rifle, and I always cringe because, that doesn't necessarily scream accuracy if you're going to be shooting at any game over 100 yards. If that's pretty much what you're going to be limited to because of the terrain or the quarry, then I'm sure you can get something cheaper that's going to work, like an American by Ruger or the Savage Axis 2. But I think this is pretty awesome. I like the direction Mossberg is going with some of its rifles, its bolt-action rifles.
Yeah, this is pretty neat option. I hadn't been aware of these until maybe the last week, honestly. Never heard of the Mossberg Patriot, and now that I'm looking at it, they seem to be a good contender with the lower price range rifles. It has like that Savage AccuTrigger type blade trigger, so I'm not entirely sure if it's adjustable.
Yeah. It's adjustable between 2 and 7 pounds.
Okay, yeah, so that's awesome. And it comes with, I know it seems kind of trivial, but it comes with the sling loops, so the sling studs, so you don't have to add those after the fact. And they actually offer, looking on their website, you can get one come straight from the factory with a Vortex scope mounted on it, Crossfire 2 3-9, and that is still only $552 so you get a rifle and a Vortex scope for $550. That's got to be a killer starting deal. And that's MSRP, so I'm sure you can find them less than that. At some of the, probably even some of the big box stores. I know some of those kind of carry the more budget-friendly options.
Yeah, and then the barrel is fluted, which is nice. It looks like straight fluted, but the bolt is actually spiral fluted, which to have both fluted bolt and barrel are kind of more custom features that help shave down on the ounces to keep it a little bit lighter.
Yeah, that is very interesting. You don't see operations like that on inexpensive guns too often.
Yeah.
Well, I think what it is, it's over. That whole time of everything's custom and you break the bank by buying your one hunting rifle, it's over with now. They figured out ways through manufacturing, CNC machinery, and a lot of other things. Plus, the more accuracy you get out of rounds today, and the better they work. So now it's a lot less expensive to make a good bolt action.
Yep, and you're not having to spend the money to inlet and also buy a bottom metal. So it takes detachable box magazine. It comes with a four bullet magazine. Of course, that's depending on the caliber. I assume they're all around 4, even if it's long action or short action.
Yeah, 4 or 5.
But that's a big thing. Yeah, that's a big thing a lot of people spend extra to do, and it's nice to see more rifles come out that already have that built in. Save you some time.
Yeah. Now, are you aware if they have any
I
kind
mean,
of increased capacity, I guess you could say? I know it's kind of a hunting rifle, but it's always kind of nice to be able to bump it up to 10 or so for target practice.
well,
Yeah,
back
I
in the
guess you'd
day,
have to see the accessories.
Okay.
back in the day growing up, because I'm from Virginia, so we shotgun hunters where I was from. But I was one of those kids that used to read all the old American Rifleman and any of those magazines. And it's pretty much, if you bought a hunting rifle back in the 70s, 80s, I mean, you became on first name basis with a gunsmith somewhere, getting it to shoot like you wanted it to shoot. Now that's not necessarily the case. I mean, I have a Savage Axis. It's right out of the box, and it works. You know what I mean? It's no fiddling with it. There's no taking it to get your guy to work on it. And it comes with glass already that's decent.
Yep.
So if you want better glass, you buy better glass, but you can go hunting right away with the rifle right out the box.
Mm-hmm. Now, I just kind of did a quick search, and Tombstone Tactical happened to be the very first Google search that they have the 308 Patriot with the Vortex scope for $429. So out the door, you can have a nice 5-round bolt action rifle with a 3 to 9 power scope.
Now remember,
$425 for this, and I think the Remington 700s start around $500-600 depending on which model you get. So.
Mm-hmm.
And the Vortex has a lifetime warranty on it, VIP warranty.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Vortex are good. You can ask Ryan. I think he likes Vortex almost as much as he likes Magpul.
I knew that.
Yeah, I think I only own one loop-pulled scope now. I got rid of my Redfields. Now I almost exclusively have Vortex optics, and that's like scopes, red dots. I don't have the Vortex binoculars yet, but give it time.
Binoculars, spotting scopes, keychains, all that kind of stuff.
Underwear, the whole shebang.
Phone covers.
Okay.
When you get in your Vortex tramp stamp.
Actually, you might laugh. I've got a Vortex decal on my truck, so that kind of counts.
No, he's talking about the permanent one.
No, there's no room. I made the Magpul tramp stamp too big. There's no more real estate back there. I gotta eat some more biscuits to get some more real estate surface area back there. So next up, we've got the Browning Storm Front Damascus knife. So Browning seems like it's coming out with a lot of projects. They've got their whole black label thing, trying to be tactical. But actually, this caught my eye because it was, to me, more practical and a little bit more classic the way it looked. It's still going to be an expensive knife no matter how you cut it, no pun intended. But for a MSRP of $333, you can get this Damascus drop point blade that's got it's hand forged and it's got a stag horn handle, so it's almost like an antler handle. Leather sheath. The main blade length is 4 1/4 with an overall length of 8 3/4. Of course, the blade composition is Damascus, and that's where they repeatedly fold the high carbon 1080 steel more than 200 times. And then they combine that with 15 and 20 steel to produce an incredible edge. So that's kind of an old-fashioned Japanese style of making a very cool-looking blade as far as the pattern goes, but also very highly strong or high strength too on a molecular level. So it's got a Rockwell steel hardness of between 56 and 58. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Besides the really high MSRP for it being a knife in a custom category, what do you guys think?
Yeah, the Damascus. If you put Damascus in front of anything, and the price is going to go up because, like you said, it's a very
labor intensive.
Yeah, it's a very, very labor-intensive process. Like I'm pretty sure, the steel's got to be flattened, folded over, pounded, and flattened, and folded, and like this says 200 layers. It's 200 times they have to do this, and that's where you get your really neat pattern. It's kind of like, I guess, depending on who does it and all that stuff, it's kind of like a tiger stripe-ish pattern where you kind of see like dark steel, light steel, dark steel, just kind of throughout it, and then of course the stag horn. That's just awesome touch to it. It's just a really good looking knife. I'm not sure the benefits of Damascus other than looking cool. You said maybe some extra molecular strength or something along those lines. I haven't.
Yeah,
into...
I mean, from what I've seen on YouTube of forging videos, the molecules of the steel are kind of much better bonded together. So I mean, that's just a higher strength knife or quality of steel apparently.
Yeah, it's a stronger steel. It's a sharper steel. It maintains its edge longer, and it's just that old school classic. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's got that kind of hammered out look to it. It looks handmade.
The only thing is the sheath. I don't know. To me, the sheath looks kind of cheap.
Yeah, it looks kind of like just one of those cheap little faux leather. Stamp it over, and I mean it's probably real leather. It just kind of looks like some cheaper grade. It doesn't have any kind of retention or anything like that, so you may have to worry about it falling out in the woods or something along those lines. So which would suck to lose a $330 knife in the woods because it doesn't have retention.
Yes, it would.
Well, see, that's why I buy fixed blade knives with that fake Damascus paint job on it, and it makes me feel a whole lot better about myself because then when I lose it or break it, I don't feel bad. And while I had it, it good. Exactly.
Tony's buying $12 Damascus steel from the gas station, huh?
No, M-Tech, top of the line, baby, $12.
Can you buy knives in gas stations in Jersey?
No.
Okay. I had to ask.
That was a good.
Plastic knives?
No, you can't.
Yeah.
Anything fun is no. Slingshot, no. BB gun, no.
Only butter knives, but they actually call them Christie knives over there.
Nice. Hey, don't make fun of our governor. He's missing. We haven't seen him in months.
He's in Alaska carrying Obama's salmon or whatever the hell he's doing over there.
Oh, he's following them shore to shore? Because I know last summer he was walking around on the Jersey Shore holding his hand and winning them Cupid dolls. Oh, the guy's just embarrassed. Yeah,
I don't remember if you mentioned it, but it has the hollow ground blade, which I know I'm not entirely up to speed on all the different grinds and all that stuff, but I know a lot of people do take that into consideration. So if that's something you need to know, that's a hollow ground.
Yeah, and it does have kind of a nice guard on the handle, so that if you are cutting something and it runs down the blade, it's not gonna hit your index finger. So that's kind of a nice feature that they got on there.
Or in the case that your hand slips forward, the guard's going to stop you from slipping onto the knife.
Yeah, too. I was thinking about it from a knife fight standpoint, but I guess that makes sense from a safety standpoint.
Well, if you're stabbing and you hit him in the skull and your hand slides forward and you slice it open, I mean...
Oh, my God.
If we're talking knife fighting.
Yeah. Knife fighting, yeah. I work in a prison and they don't have knife fights. Somehow you're going to have knife fights in the woods. It seems like Browning has found different price points to buy into their knives. I mean, they have the lower level tactical, super cool. What was that stuff called? Shock and awe knife sets that we were checking out before with the axes. Mm-hmm. But now it seems they also have a very high end, or at least to me high end. $300 is a lot of money for me for a knife. But I mean, it's like they have different price points that they bought in at. So they have pretty much your dollars covered. It seems pretty smart move if you have the name, just spread it out there.
Yep.
Yeah, and it looks like some of the knives in this series, I'm not sure if this one in particular, I don't recognize the name, but some of you others might. The man named Russ Comer says he's been a hunting guide for over 30 years, living a big game hunting guide in Idaho and in Alaska, and I guess he designed these knives. So if that name means anything to you, kind of.
Well, he was in the last when we did the other show about the knives from here. But here's the thing: he's a hunting guide, and I can understand hunting knives. But when he got into the tactical area, I'm like, well, what are you talking about, dude? It's totally different. You know what I mean? Everything's different now. It seems.
Yeah, this is probably more in his lane, I would imagine. Was what you're saying, huh?
Yeah, this is your wheelhouse.
Cool. So next up, we got a very interesting little pistol that's new from Kimber, and a lot of people associate Kimber with like really high MSRPs and really nice 1911s. So this is kind of no different, but it's a little bit more unique and I'd say niche for your kind of carry. This is a carry pistol, I would say. It's the Kimber Micro Bel Air. So I mean, you got your ghetto blaster. This thing looks like the hipster blaster. It's definitely styling and retro, and I think it's got a lot of appeal for maybe newer gun owners these days, or maybe if you're more of a fan of that era and color scheme of the 80s, then so it's basically a Kimber Micro, but they've given it a unique blue finish that looks almost like seafoam green or seafoam blue, whichever way you want to call that.
Kind of like that Tiffany blue everybody
it's got
was going for last year.
A what?
Kind of like that Tiffany blue everybody was going for last year. They just wanted to be different and call it something different, I suppose.
Yeah, you can call it that. And it's got an ivory micarta grip, so it's got kind of nice ivory colored grips. Stainless slide. What do you guys think about this thing?
You said it was a niche handgun, and in the category of Pocket 380 1911s, to be a niche inside of a niche, I think is kind of a difficult market. But it's definitely unique looking, but from kind of secondhand experiences, hearing about people that actually run guns, Kimbers don't seem to be up to par, I guess you could say. So I'm not too terribly excited about it. It's like you said, it's got that kind of old school flashy, the blue with the highly polished slide and the ivory grips. It's very unique looking, but if it doesn't perform, which Kimber seem to have a track record of not performing, that's kind of pointless to me. I guess if you're gonna have a show gun that doesn't perform, might as well make it a full size rather than a pocket gun, I guess. But
I mean, what do you mean as far as don't perform? I mean, it goes bang, does it? Like what have you heard to prove otherwise?
I've just heard some pretty bad things about Kimbers not being very reliable in their operation from pretty respected trainers and stuff like that. They just kind of go down. I haven't heard anything specifically about the 380, these micro guns, but other Kimbers I've heard not so great things about them.
See, my thing is I won't trash a gun based off what I hear from other people, because anybody can say anything about any time on the internet. So
yeah.
I mean, the gun just doesn't do anything for me. Just off the color scheme and the size. I'm not a big fan of 380 just because I don't want to buy another bloody caliber.
Yep.
If I'm going to spend, I'd rather have 9mm and go up to a 9mm single stack pistol.
Yeah.
See, I think it's pretty, and I like it because it's pretty. Because I like pretty, because I am pretty.
Yes, you are.
I've heard the same thing about Kimbers. Mostly I heard that you pay a lot of money and you get a really pretty gun, but it's no better than some other 1911s you could get for less money. I didn't hear that they didn't work or anything. I just heard that you're paying more for a name and that look. I like to look at pretty guns. I don't understand how you have a pocket pistol you get to show off. I mean, it's not exactly barbecue gun size. You know what I mean? And as big as I am, even wearing that outside the waistband, you won't see it.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was getting at, talking about, if you're going to have something that, like a presentation type gun, might as well make it something bigger you can actually show off.
Yeah, but I really like the look. I mean, if you are just listening to this, go and check out the link because it is a really pretty pistol with the mirror finish and the paint job and the ivory micarta handles. It's really something to look at.
Mm-hmm.
But as small as it is, again, it'll probably be inside the waistband, and you'll never be able to show it off. So you'll get home and handle it. But other than that, unless you want to get arrested for brandishing, you're not really going to show it to anybody.
All right. Now, one thing I do find notable and pretty good is the fact that it's got some pretty decent looking sights, like some full size style sights, and which is something I guess more people are kind of getting into. But there's still a lot of companies that make these little bitty 380s and think little gun needs little sights, but little guns need just as big a sights as big guns. So I'm glad to see that they um, have that on there, especially since they made it a point to give it their carry melt, which I think they kind of just reduce a lot of the corners and edges and stuff like that. And a lot of times when people do those carry melts, they try to make the sights as low profile as possible, kind of like a LCP or something like that. So,
Hey, see, in North Carolina, we don't have a conceal or a open carry prohibition, so yeah, I could actually put this on and wear it outside in the day if I wanted to. But I'd be more inclined to do something like that with their, if you scroll over a couple to their micro sapphire.
Oh, that was nice too. Now, I was just talking about this before we came on the air with my friend Sean says, yeah, you got the concealed carry gun and you have the high end, the pretty gun. But remember one thing, if you ever use it, well, the police are going to have it and they're probably going to shoot the snot out of it. In the year it takes you to get it back between, the arrest, the charges, the trials, when they drop it and you get your gun back.
Absolutely.
Let's just say if it was a little stiff before, it'll be real smoothed out from all the rounds they put through it while you've been locked up.
Well, it's kind of like if you're going to get a concealed carry gun, make sure you got a gun that you don't mind losing should you ever have to use it.
Right.
Yeah.
See, like if I carry a Glock and they take it, okay, whatever.
Yeah, or think about you losing it, dumping it on the sidewalk or something like that, Police come around the corner and you don't want to be the guy with the gun in your hand, so you just throw it on the concrete. You might be a little less inclined to do that with your more expensive guns. So it's definitely
well, that's why my high point is my carry gun. I don't care.
Listen, high points have an advantage in that if you ever run out of ammunition, that you could just take somebody and whack the crap out of them with them, and that slide will knock them into next week.
I bet you can get some pretty good distance with that thing too, about chunking it.
Oh.
Well, actually, see, that shows how little you know. There has to be a technique. With something that weighs that much, you got to toss it like a shot put.
Yep.
You actually have to have it by your chin and spin around 3 times and shove out.
Kind of like what Paul Hogan did in Crocodile Dundee with the suit
I
can.
don't even remember anything.
Oh
yeah,
man,
exactly.
80s movies, man.
Well, the interesting thing about the Bel Air is that, it's not a real high price point compared to some of their other custom micros available. So it's got an MSRP of $810, but if you're looking at the other custom micros in its category, you've got the Diamond and you've got the Sapphire, and those are each over $1,000 MSRP. So yeah, the Micro Diamond is $1,014. And the Sapphire, if you're a big fan of blue, is also the same price, $1,014.
They have jewels embedded in them.
I don't think so. No, it's just the color scheme, and they've got a little bit of engraving on them, embellishment.
Yeah, they're very nice looking guns.
Yeah. So let's see. It's got a barrel length of 2 3/4 inches. The material is a stainless steel as far as the barrel goes. It's got a 16 twist rate, and it is ramped. That slide is a real nice mirrored polish on it, but also all the pins in that blue frame. The heads of the pins are all kind of polished. So it is a very aesthetically pleasing firearm. It's got that nice classic fixed beaver tail that you would see on 1911s. It's not a functioning beaver tail safety. It's just molded into. It's part of the frame design, so that you're not going to get slide bite from that slide coming back, or the hammer for the most part. That hammer that's got some jimping on the end of it's kind of bobbed, so that doesn't come down and hit you in the web of the hand. I think that this would be. Go ahead.
This is like the pistol that the big wealthy philanthropist guy buys the detective for helping him rescue his kidnapped daughter. That's what I imagine.
Was that an episode of Miami Vice?
Probably.
But
I've never seen it, but probably.
well, my thing is, it's not that much more expensive than anything pretty much SIG has to offer in either 1911 or the SIG 220. I mean, it's still in that time frame. It's just a 380.
Yeah.
That's what we're having a problem with. You could buy, two Glock 42s or 43s for that price. But still, it's an heirloom piece. It really is. It's something you can pass on. It's something that your wife won't have a problem, or any female won't have a problem carrying, because it is pretty and it's not pink, and they'll probably have it on them all the time.
Yep, and that 380 is going to be kind of a caliber that's kind of more in the market of female demographic self-defense carry. So
yeah,
now,
the steel gun, it's got to shoot pretty softly, I would imagine.
Now, I've shot the 9mm in this size because what do you call it, SIG? 1911 type in the 9mm? Yeah, I guess so. Whatever. I've shot that. It's not it's just not something you're going to shoot a lot.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Most of these guns aren't.
Yeah, but it's not something to go, oh, okay, hey, let's go out and shoot the tiny gun. But I'm figuring in the 380, it's not something that's going to punish you, because I was actually teaching a class, and the guy had one of these just to shoot during the class, and the females we had really had a hard time wrangling this 9mm caliber in this size firearm. So I think, with the reduced weight, reduced power of 380, it'd probably work better in this format for anyone who uses it. You know what I mean? It's just spend more on 380 ammunition than you do on 9mm ammo.
Yeah, fair bit more, honestly. It's kind of a trade-off. You gotta figure out what works best for you, I suppose. Just like anything in the gun world.
Yep. And then one other thing we didn't mention is that it's got a 6 capacity. So I'm not sure if that's 5+1 in the chamber or 6+1.
It's probably 6+1, I would imagine. Most it's pretty standard for the 380 size guns is 6 rounds. I think it's just Mossberg that likes to add the one in the chamber as the total capacity.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of these smaller pocket pistols, the next product that we got this week is actually a holster from Comptac that they've just released that is specifically for these smaller pocket pistols. So the Comptac Cavalry holster is made for the Glock 43. I imagine that the 42 would also either work for that or come out a little bit later on. But also the Kimber Solo, the Ruger LC9, or if you've got the SIG P938 or P238. So you can choose left or right side, and then you can choose between the clip options of 1.5 black standard clips or 1.5-inch wide black C clips. It's got an MSRP of $44.99, so just $45. The Cavalry holster is made for pocket pistols, and it has all your favorite features for pocket pistol-sized guns, comprised of a comfortable leather backing and a Kydex shell, providing a smooth and fast draw. This holster offers cant adjustment, ride height adjustment, and retention adjustment to make sure that your handgun is easily accessible while still being secure. Get all your customization in there and how you like to carry it. Both of those clips that I mentioned previously are made out of nylon reinforced polymer, which is strong enough to withstand over 10 million flexes while still being gentle on your belts, comfortable, and car seats. Yeah, it's a nice looking holster. I think that leather backing is probably going to be a little bit on the nice and robust and thick, not a flimsy piece of leather that you might find on more cheaper holsters. I think they do recommend the standard clips to use a sturdier, thicker leather belt. So get your $12 Walmart belts out of here and get yourself a nicer, thicker carry belt if you can.
Yeah, most of these clips that kind of clip over the belt, they kind of rely on the thickness of the belt to help hold it on. So that definitely is highly recommended. Plus, you don't want your gun flopping over or sagging your pants and all that stuff. But yeah, this seems like a really good, less expensive option, because I know a lot a lot of these hybrid type holsters, if they tend to be $60 to $100. This one's only MSRP of $44.99, so it gets you into because a lot of people, you buy a tiny gun and then you got to think you got to buy a $70 piece of holster for this tiny little bitty gun. And I guess CompTech kind of took that into consideration and scaled the price more than some other competitors. So it's a really good option. And I would imagine, like Ryan said, probably maybe coming, I guess it's all speculation, but possibly coming out for some of the smaller guns, like the 380 versions. It seems like it's available for Glock, Kimber, Ruger, and SIG, and all of those are their single stack micro 9s, except for the SIG actually does have an option for the 238, which is their 380, similar to that Kimber we just talked about. But like the Kimber is the solo 9mm, the Glock is the 43 9mm, and the Ruger, it's available in the LC9 9mm. So it's kind of interesting. You'd think they would offer it for the even smaller, but maybe it's just kind of in testing right now and see how it goes. And if they get enough requests for some 380s, they probably will, I would imagine. It does have one thing I do love about hybrid holsters is their adjustability, because these clips they have on here have 5 different height adjustment holes, so you can adjust the clips to different heights, or you can adjust the front a little higher or a little lower to get the cant you want, which is always nice, especially because nobody's built the same. So if you might work for somebody, might not work for somebody else. And they have a retention adjustment screw, which is convenient compared to some of the other makers where they tell you to just kind of take a hair dryer to it and push it into the trigger guard a little bit. So it's nice to have a easily adjustable retention screw.
Now, see, with me, this thing, it looks really cool and everything, but last time I carried was old school. Uncle Mike's holster was pretty much a neoprene sock with a belt clip on it. So this thing will be rather confusing, but I'm really going to have to get into more modern holsters. So the cool thing, though, is the price point. Price point is less than pretty much anybody else I think I've seen out there. Even Alien Gear holsters are about this price point, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think the difference there is going to be that I can tell they're already going to be, the clips are going to be a little bit more spread apart on the Alien Gear holsters. Okay. They've got those interchangeable shells on there, but they all kind of use the same backing as a template, whereas this, because you're using a much smaller framed pistol, I think they brought the clips in a little bit closer so that it doesn't take up as much surface area on your hip. So
yeah, you're not carrying an LCP in the same real estate that you would carry your 5-inch 1911. So
exactly.
Okay.
Right.
All right. Yeah. Again, I don't have a lot of experience with them, so yeah, I'm just deferring to you guys. I'm just bringing up, from my ignorant point of view of what it takes to wear these things.
Mm-hmm. I do like that they offer right out of the gate the clip options, because a lot of companies you just get the standard clips and you got to add the other clips to the order instead of just I don't want this one at all, so just don't waste my time and just give me the ones I want. So I like that about CompTech. They lay all their options out there right for you to just buy them the way you want it the first time instead of having to go back and purchase secondary accessories.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, cool.
So next up, I'm going to be getting into my review of the Magpul Zhukov AK handguard. So I did the Zhukov S folding stock last week. I had a lot of fun reviewing that and shooting some footage of that, but I'm actually going to be reviewing the Zhukov handguard this week, and that is the longer of the 2 handguards that Magpul released for the AK-47, AKM, just AK variant platform, unless you own a Yugo, in which case get good and get yourself a real AK and ditch that Yugo garbage. So anyway, the Zhukov is a lot longer, and the appeal of that is obviously it going past the gas block and you getting a much forwarder grip with your supporting hand. So trying to do this at the same time and not bump my mic. But, when I deploy the stock, I'm going to go ahead and back up a little bit. I can really get my support hand, get my thumb almost resting on top of the gas block, the start of the gas tube. Obviously, if I have my thumb on there and I'm shooting a lot, dumping magazines, I'm going to probably burn myself if I don't have a gloved hand. But you can see that one of the big benefits is if you have a light, you can mount it all the way forward, and you still have plenty of room to get some kind of angled foregrip if you prefer angled foregrips or vertical foregrips or no grips at all. But you can still have your hand forward here for better control of the recoil of the rifle, and also tracking between targets. Everyone loves that C-clamp grip because it's super tactical, and Travis Haley does it, so it's got to be awesome. But this gives you that ability to get your hand further up on the AK platform, whereas the regular AK handguard, both the factory one and the Magpul MOE AK handguard, they kind of stop right where they traditionally do. So you only have, about 8 inches, 8.5, 9 inches of real estate where you can put your grip and also your light, and it might just be too compact for you. Then also one thing to note, if you are mounting a light onto the handguard of your AK, if your light's positioned too far back, you hit it and you're basically going to be illuminating the back of your front sight tower, which could be kind of annoying at night when you've got that light bouncing back and kind of ruining your night vision. So this gives you the ability to mount your light more forward so that the spread of that beam is actually forward of that front sight tower, and you're not bouncing any of that light back at yourself. The difference between installing this one and the AKM or regular AK MOE handguard, there is some permanent modification involved with if you want to put the Zukov on here versus the other one. This is a Romanian Wasser 10, so it did have the handguard retaining cap, kind of a plate, that also had a sling loop on there. So I had the Magpul AKM handguard that had on the left side a little relief molded in so that I could still use that clip in the side of the handguard. Well, if you want to install the Zukov, it relies on barrel clamps, and so you actually have to cut that retaining clamp off with a Dremel or some sort of power tool, or just a hacksaw if you're low tech, or for whatever reason. So that's kind of a major thing if you've never Dremeled before, or if you're too chicken to Dremel your firearms. Lucky for you, this is an AK, and they assembled it with a hammer and some punches and some rivets. So you don't really have to worry about blemishing your barrel, because no one's going to see it after you have everything assembled, and two, it's an AK, it ain't going to matter. It's still going to have that Russian magic. So I'll actually take off my top cover here and show you guys what the barrel clamp looks like if you're watching the YouTube feed. It was a pretty easy process. What I did is I just took the Dremel and was cutting at that cap, and I stopped short of like 1/32 of going all the way through. Of course, I did use duct tape on either side to kind of protect the barrel, give me like an extra layer of almost skin so that I didn't cut through it unintentionally. Try to get this cover off. Both the Zukov and the MOE handguard share the same top cover. So fortunately, I only had to reinstall the bottom portion, and the top just fit right back on there. No problem. The MSRPs are quite a bit different. The Zukov was $99, and I don't have the AKM MOE version MSRP right next to me, but it's kind of more in the vicinity of $40, I believe. Man, this thing is stubborn to get off. Might be because I have my spring sitting in there. I bet you that's why. There we go. Yeah, that's the reason. So pop that off. I do have a magazine in here. I'll pull that out so you safety Sallies don't bust a nut. And then So here's the barrel clamps. So there's two. They both go rear of the kind of detent where that handguard retaining cap was. So basically I cut that about, I left about 1/32 of an inch left of that aluminum on there on both sides, and then I took a flathead screwdriver and I kind of wedged it into that cut channel that I had made with the Dremel cutting wheel and just kind of pivoted, and it popped both off. So that was really easy to do and didn't harm the barrel at all. So then after you do that, you take the handguard out of the box, and there's a heat shield inside of it, and you've got to remove the heat shield from the exterior polymer shell. So right off the bat, you're working with the heat shield first. So then there's these clamps. They're two-piece, so obviously there's an upper half and a bottom half. The upper half has threaded holes, whereas the bottom half, the holes are not threaded. So that tells you that the two screws that you put through the heat shield through the bottom go through the non-threaded lower half of that clamp, and then you take the top half and you set on top of the screws, and then you just kind of finger tighten down. So once you do that to both, you leave it kind of loosely finger tightened. Then you slide on the polymer shell right back over the heat shield, and on the sides, both on the left right hand side, there's a hex screw that you screw in that holds the polymer shell and the heat shield together. So then once you do that, your entire handguard can still move around a little bit freely. So what you want to do is kind of hold it in the most rearward position. It does not index or mechanically have itself on the receiver at all. So it's just kind of clamped to your barrel. So it's your job to make sure that it's in the most rearward position it can. It'll kind of fall in there, and you'll feel it just kind of tabs in the heat shield that the receiver just kind of slides in between, but they're still free floating. So then you kind of have to eyeball the gap in between the handguard edges right here and here on either side of this gas block, and that's basically how you can tell whether you're nice and even or not. So you really have to eyeball it. That's kind of a bummer that there's no way on this configuration to make sure that it's perfectly level, but it is an AK. It's not like you're going to affect your accuracy whether your handguard is off or not. Obviously, this isn't going to be something that you want to mount like a laser to and have that laser zeroed at 100 yards and then expect it to hold true for every yardage after that, because this handguard isn't going to be completely concentric and parallel and perfectly zeroed with the barrel itself. It's just basically a handguard and a heat shield. So then you're basically going to hold, eyeball, make sure that the gaps are about even, and you want to alternate the 4 nuts to tighten down on these barrel clamps, the screws through the barrel clamps. You want to alternate so that way one side of the clamp isn't more tightened than the other, because then you will have warping and the handguard will kind of warp itself over to one side or the other. So you kind of want to just do an alternating pattern until they're all tight. The gaps in between the barrel clamps are level or even as far as the space in between them. So then after you're all set there, all you do is just replace that top, the gas tube. Obviously, what you're going to want to do with your gas tube is you might want to use a vise, but basically, if you've never removed a top cover of an AK handguard, this works on a kind of spins inside this C channel on the ends of this gas tube. So basically, you just want to spin the handguard 180 degrees until it pops right out. Then you take the new polymer Magpul one and put it back in, and then rotate it 180 degrees until it's about level. So then you just replace it, and you're good to go. So all in all, even though it does require some permanent modification, that basically you'll never be able to put another handguard on here again in the traditional sense of a handguard that made use of that retaining cap. So you just a little bit of commitment on your part. You gotta want this handguard on here till the end of time, or else you gotta go with another handguard that uses barrel clamps that would have called for the removal of that plate anyway.
Now, Ryan, is that plate part of the barrel assembly or part of that gas tube assembly?
It's part of the barrel assembly.
Oh, okay.
So
I was thinking it was
yeah,
part of the gas tube, so you could just buy another gas tube if it came to that.
No, you would have to take, if you could probably get another one, but you'd have to like literally take everything off to slide it back down, which is way more trouble than it's worth. And that's one thing I like about the AK is that, you know, I'll take off the gas block of an AR-15. I don't know how many times it's lifetime, but I'll never do that with an AK because A, it's really hard unless you have the tools, and B, there's really no reason to. You can still access everything without doing that. So yeah, that clip is really there to just hold the lower half of your factory handguard in place, and then on like some AKMs, it's got that sling loop on there if you've got the para clip style of slings. But it was really easy to cut off. So it's not impossible. You could take it to your gunsmith, and he'd probably do it for you really cheap because of how easy it is, unless he's a bastard, in which case he might overcharge you. So make sure you get an estimate from him before he goes and does that. So the other nice thing is that if you had an Ultimac optics rail, so basically it replaces this entire gas block, and it puts a rail forward of your rear sight. It's Picatinny 1913 rail that you can put your red dot sight in front of that and have it a little bit lower so you can co-witness between your rear sight and your front sight and have that really low mounted optic. Both of their handguards from Magpul are compatible with that, so I'll probably invest in one here soon. I don't mind having my sight hovering over the dust cover using this ACARS rail, but I think if I get another AK, I might put this on that and then put an Ultimac on this. So I'll just go through the main features and benefits. Actually, before I do that, obviously this has got slots on here. All of Magpul's new furniture are going to be M-LOK, and so I'll go ahead and take a minute to just show you. This is an M-LOK rail. I believe this is a 7-slot rail. So what M-LOK is just their evolution in rail mounting. So before they had the MOE system, which was basically just they had these kind of elongated but rounded slots in their handguards. You had your screw, but then you had this kind of flat almost like you took a pill shape and you flattened it. It was a much elongated nut that was flat, and so that would kind of you'd have to somehow balance it inside the handguard, either get in there with your finger or a popsicle stick or some kind of witchcraft to hold it inside the handguard. Obviously, it's much easier if you take the handguard off your firearm completely and then do it that way. So then basically as you tightened it down, it kind of got stuck in that slot and it held your rail in place. Well, they've since switched to M-LOK, which is both compatible on their polymer handguards as well as a lot of new aluminum handguards coming out. Instead of Kima, they're M-LOKs. They run on the same system. So it's got these kind of indexing nuts on the end of the screws. So you just kind of make sure that there's maybe about like an eighth of an inch, or it's more like a 1/16 of an inch gap, so they're tightened down. And then you can just kind of align the nuts so that they're vertical, and then you can place it onto your rail so that the nuts kind of slide into the M-LOK slots, and then you just take your Allen key and you tighten. So there's no need to get inside and hold the nuts there. It's kind of a really easy system to where you can just tighten it down and hold sturdy, or you can loosen, and as long as the nuts are kind of parallel with the rail, you could slide it right off. So that's kind of basically a layman's introduction into what M-LOK rails are all about. So obviously I have an M-LOK angled foregrip from Magpul on the bottom of this, much slimmer, which is nice. I've got my flashlight mount on another Magpul rail section, and then also I've got a M-LOK QD sling port right there, and that's also from Magpul. So it's kind of real nice that no matter what firearm you've got, you could put a QD spot, basically wherever you'd like. So it's a little bit of a nice way to customize. If I want my sling to attach, kind of mid rifle or at the farthermost end of that handguard.
Now, Ryan, that QD, is there a spot for that, or did you have to drill that into the handguard?
It looked identical to this right
okay.
side.
Okay,
so you can see that section right here.
Basically,
it was on
an
that side too.
Spot specifically for that at that point.
Exactly. Yeah.
It looks like it's
so
right
they
under
make these
the rear sight.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they make these rail sections in different lengths. So this is the 7. They make a 5. They make a 3. That's much smaller. It's almost about this long, the same as this QD port there. They make them in polymer and aluminum, which is nice. If you don't like the idea of aluminum rails, or I'm sorry, polymer rails on your aluminum rifle, or vice versa, aluminum rails on your polymer handguard, you can just get the aluminum versions. And then obviously that kinetic development MREX, M-Lock that has the push tabs and those detents. That's available too, so that'd be really nice on this rifle as well.
Yeah. Now I noticed today I was just happening to look at M-Lock stuff, and they also have like a cantilever flashlight mount, which you can mount it to the M-Lock, but it extends maybe 2 inches forward, so you can have the flashlight even more forward than you currently have it mounted, if that interests you. Yeah,
that is true. I was looking at that. But these specific lights that I'm running, which I'll do a review sometime in the future, are these Surefires. I like them just the way they are, mounted right about there, because then I can turn it on and the beam's not bouncing off the rear side at all.
There you go.
It's really easy to get with my thumb. So, the other benefits too, obviously, is that if you can use this extra handguard real estate that you previously did not have in the past, and use that on your bench, use that as to shoot on any kind of rest or barricade. That's something that you're really limited to kind of shooting AKs from a rest before. If you're the kind of guy that's saying, well, that's because AKs aren't meant for accuracy, so you're better off just shooting them freestanding anyway. That's ignorant. You hush up there. You could definitely get more accuracy out of your AK by giving it extra rest, which this handguard kind of accomplishes. Obviously, you could mount an M-Lock bipod stud here and actually have a bipod on your AK. So if you really wanted to increase its accuracy by giving it a nice sturdy rest, or if you're hunting with your AK, if you're hunting Kodiak grizzly bears in Mother Russia, you could definitely accomplish that with that bipod right there. I haven't done it quite yet, but because I don't think I'll ever. If I put it on there, it'll be for show, for pictures, and then I'd take it off because I'd never use my AK that way. Certainly possible, though. All in all, it's a really nice handguard. It kind of, just like the Zukov S stock, it transforms the firearm into something more modern, something that's not the AK-47 of the 19th century. This is something that's much more intended for the future of the modern AK platform. Obviously available in all the other colors that the other Magpul AK furniture is offered in. So if you wanted that in black, stealth gray, flat dark earth, ranger green, or plum, and hopefully, fingers crossed, sand, so that you can dye it red if you wanted to, and you can really have a comm block style rifle with a bright red polymer handguard if you wanted to. The claim to fame is Magpul Zukov handguard casts aside traditional AK forearm shortcomings and offers an extended option for modern shooting techniques. Target market is AK variant owners with standard length barrels. So the barrel has to have a diameter between 16.75 and 18.25 millimeters. So that's the diameter of the barrel, and so that's so that the clamps can fit on there. Obviously, if you've got a diameter larger than that range or smaller than that range, the clamps aren't going to work. And it has to have a minimum barrel length of 13 inches. It's got mounts to most AK-47, AKM, or AK-74 rifles. It's got the full-length handguard anodized aluminum chassis, gives a flex-free mounting and heat shielding. M-lock slots at the 3, 6, and 9 o'clock positions. Includes a polymer top cover, and like I said, compatible with those Ultimac optic rails. What other people are saying, here's a Brownells user review. It says, I love this handguard. It was very easy to install. The heat shield does a great job at keeping your hands from getting too warm. It works well with all M-lock accessories. It fitted perfect with my Ultimac gas tube as well. I couldn't be happier with the purchase. And then I've got another review from Major Pandemic. You better really want the Magpul Zukov because you were going to be stuck with it. I don't see this as a problem with its features. However, you should be aware that the gas block sling mount loop and factory handguard retainer cover must be ground off your AK. Yep, this means you are not going backward from an upgrade perspective at any point in the future. The Magpul Zukov handguard covers the sling mount point, so even if you do a fairly ugly job, nobody will see it. This also means that the Zukov is not a drop-in upgrade, but something easy if you know how to run a hacksaw or a file or a Dremel well. The main advantage of this barrel-clamped configuration is that the handguard is never shifting or moving. One of the reasons some will opt for the Zukov handguard over the MOE version is that this version is designed to be more compatible with various milled receivers since the handguard is not reliant on a slot in the receiver and handguard to retain for stability and is instead just clamped to the barrel. I love what Magpul has done to overhaul the AK-47 74 rifles from top to bottom to keep the AK current even after all these years. So that's a very good point, is that how I complained that you had to eyeball the fit to make sure the gaps were even here, to make sure that it wasn't leaning over to one side because it didn't fit snugly over the receiver to give it any kind of mechanical hold. That's actually a good point, is that there's so many variances between stamped and milled receivers that's actually a benefit, because if you had a milled receiver, which was milled out of a billet instead of stamped sheet metal basically, you might have a wider width to your receiver, and so this handguard is more apt to fit that, as opposed to this stock is really only designed for stamped receivers, and if you have a milled receiver, this stock, you might not be able to use the Zukov stock with that. So it's nice that it's got a little bit more usability to that. The MSRP, Magpul's got it for $99.95. Brownells has it for just $1 cheaper, $94.95. So we got the link to that in the show notes. If you need it now, you can get it from Brownells using the link that I provided in the review, as well as check local gun shops, because they've pretty well propagated now. I can find this at local big box stores that usually have an entire shelf dedicated to Magpul products. So my review, I'm giving it an 8.0 as great. My pros, fairly easy to install, just removing that retainer plate. The longer forearm gives you more room for accessory rails or better forward positioning of lights, and just a forward grip, which is going to give you enhanced shooting. Compatible with the railed gas tubes, a big plus. The design itself ties very well with the stock, with the AK grip from Magpul, even the AK magazines. It just all looks like a very good platform. I know I'm holding this up with no dust cover, so it does look a little bit weird. But I think all these products tie together very well, and I'm looking forward to seeing manufacturers like Century Arms or other custom AK builders to offer rifles with this whole furniture suite on them. The cons I gave it is that there's no allowance for the cleaning rod, unfortunately, because the barrel clamps onto the barrel. The cleaning rod usually slides through a hole in the retaining cap, and basically through the handguard. Well, because you've got these clamps that are basically there's no holes or anything to accommodate the cleaning rod, so they prevent the cleaning rod from being inserted past right about here. Easy fix for that would be is that if you had a mill or any kind of drill press, and you made sure you measure very accurately, you could, the bottom unthreaded halves of the barrel clamps, you could make a little relief slot in those, maybe about, a little less than half of an inch, maybe about between a quarter and a half inch slot, so that you can slide that cleaning rod all the way through if you wanted to retain that. I'm surprised that Magpul did not do that, but being that not everybody has a cleaning rod still mounted on their AK or didn't come with one because of the barrel configuration. Also the slop involved with, maybe it wouldn't, the would have added an extra variable. That cleaning rod could have not fit in those clamps because you had it set up a certain way to make it, straight if your receiver was crooked or something like that. So I understand why they didn't do it. I wish that they gave you the option to do it, or maybe some instructions to go ahead and machine those clamps yourself so that you could put the cleaning rod down there. But it is an AK, so you don't necessarily have to clean it anyway because it's got that Russian magic. So so that's why I gave it an 8.0 instead of a shining 9, as much as I love it. It just had a couple points in there that make it less than perfect.
Yeah, still pretty awesome though, because I think losing the cleaning rod's not the biggest deal in the world. Though.
The only thing you gotta think, if you have a panel or a tube in there for the cleaning rod, you might mess around with the structural integrity of that plastic.
What's that?
I just looked it up on one of my favorite window shopping pages. Centerfire Systems has a Sentry AK with the Zukov Magpul furniture already installed.
There you go.
$789.
Yeah, that's not bad. The stock is $99. The handguard is $99, so you can pretty much take $200 and subtract it from that, and that'd be kind of the base price of what you're looking at without those pieces.
Yep.
And you did that review with the magazine in the receiver, and you didn't hurt anybody.
Yeah, well, that's amazing when you pull the bolt out. You don't really have to worry about that. But obviously, I don't load magazines for my podcast anyway. There's no point.
I was afraid to say anything because I thought he was going to shoot me through the podcast.
That's not how the internets work.
Yeah, did you do the swap out yourself?
What's that?
You did the swap out yourself?
Yeah. Yeah, it was really easy.
Okay, that was my question. Is how hard would it be for a novice who doesn't know what they're doing?
If you don't have a Dremel, I would suggest you get a Dremel and practice with the cutting wheel on something you don't love or is not a gun first. Just so you know, when you're making a cutting channel, a very wide cut with a cutting wheel, once you get to a certain depth, if your wheel is not like parallel inside that channel, it's slightly cocked, that wheel will want to get away from you. So obviously wearing some kind of thick leather gloves is a good idea. Always wear eye protection in case the cutting wheel comes off of the bit and decides to lodge itself somewhere in the vicinity of your face. Always good to have those precautions, obviously. Also,
Yeah.
there's going to be sparks and flying metal too, so it's always good to have eye pro.
I have
so what
had
you're saying is doing it on your
Dremel
garage floor is probably not the smartest thing.
Doing what now?
Doing it on your garage floor with your foot on the gun is probably not the smartest thing.
I would say put it in a vise, just so you're not having to juggle too many things. I know you're joking, but yeah. I do a lot of AR-15 gunsmithing, on the floor, in between my knees, and you get tired of it pretty quick. You get a vise and some receiver blocks eventually. So moving on from the review, we've got the Tech Edger app for this week. I wanted to look at some spyglasses, but kind of more from the action shooting perspective. So I found some really nice ones. I kind of did my research, was looking at all the sunglasses out there that have a camera built in. Found the most sporty ones I could find, and they happen to be actually pretty affordable considering. So this is from Pivot Head. So Pivot Head just makes wearable imaging. This is the original Pivot Head. They've got a smart version which enables live broadcasting. So if you want to be able to live broadcast to YouTube or Vine or Instagram or whatever it is you do, you can go with the smart version. I think right now they're still taking pre-orders on that. Yeah, so it's not available yet. So you can check out the website pivothead.com and look under Smart Series and take a look at all those. They're also a little bit more hipster looking to me. So I'm reviewing the original since you could buy it today, and also it looks a lot more appropriate for us shooters or outdoorsmen, people doing active stuff outside that don't want to look like they've got some Ray-Bans on. So it's got a rechargeable battery built into the frame. It's got full HD video in 1080p, also 720p. It takes 8 megapixel still images. You can take stills, burst, or time-lapsed photos. It's got 8 gigabytes of memory on board with 1 full hour of 1080p HD video. It can come with prescription lenses, custom cut with custom options if you do need some prescription eyewear. The video and image settings are configurable. Right in the center of the two lenses is basically where the camera lens is. So it's polarized, it's mirrored, it's photochromic, whatever that means. It all sounds good. It kind of looks like a pair of Oakleys, the style of them. So they come in different colors. They've got the original Kudu black, which is kind of a matte black. They've got Kudu camo, which has got like a Realtree Max 1 camo. And then they've got Durango, which is kind of a bronze. They've got the Durango style, and it comes in bronze, glossy black, and matte black. All of them are going to MSRP for $199. So, you can take it to your sports games or 3-gun matches and be able to record some video kind of from a point of view perspective. So if you're manipulating your firearm, your hands are right in front of your face, you'll capture all that on the video. You can also obviously do other non-shooting related things with it. There's time and date stamps. You can have black and white capture, face tracking for focus. There's an auto, fixed, and macro focus mode. It's got exposure compensation, white balance settings, compression settings, so your quality. Let's see here. The resolutions, the 1080p is going to be at 30 frames per second, and the 720p is going to be you can configure that between 60 frames per second all the way down to 48 or 30 frames per second. You can also shoot 480p at 60 frames per second.
These
what do you think?
These are pretty neat, and they're not so. There seems to be a dot in the middle of your forehead, but it's not like there's a giant camera stuck on the side of your head to where it's super obvious. Obviously, there's going to be something a little off. Maybe if you saw somebody walk into a room wearing these, you'd kind of look at them a little sideways, but not be able to place it, kind of thing. Like, it's not like, that guy's got a camera mounted to his head. It's more low-key, I guess you could say. And the two different options, I kind of like that Durango style, which I think it's pretty much the same style, except that it's got a lower frame, I guess, rather than having that kind of floating frame, I guess. I'm not too big on sunglasses or anything, so I'm not sure the different styles called, but they're Kudu, just kind of like the lenses are stuck holding just the top, and then the Durango frames are holding it at the bottom as well, like a full wraparound.
It's like rimless sunglasses.
The Kudu is kind of rimless, and the Durango's got a full rim, which it's pretty neat. They have a couple pictures. You can see them kind of on somebody's head, and like I said, it does kind of stand out a little bit, but it's not like you're not wearing a GoPro on your forehead or anything like that. And I do like it being in the middle rather than like off the side of your temple or something like that, because it's a little closer to what you're actually seeing. I guess the best perspective would probably be right over your dominant eye, but being that you gotta kind of keep it symmetrical, putting it right in the middle is probably about as close to your true first person as you're gonna get. So for action shooting and stuff like that, you get pretty close to what the viewer gets pretty close to what you're actually seeing, I would imagine. And I've heard some pretty good things about these things, actually. I remember somebody did a review on them, and they said they recorded for like a couple hours on one charge. Like a constant
Nice.
on reviewing some kind of conference, if I remember right. At least an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours on like a constant on one charge. So that's gotta be pretty good. I'm not sure if it says it's got 8 gigs of memory. It says 1 hour of full 1080p. So imagine if you turned it down to a little, turn down the resolution a little bit, maybe you'd get some more recording time out of it. I imagine that's why they specified that. So
there's a jack on this thing, and they also sell an external battery / a battery pack that you can put a micro SD card in.
Okay, nice. So you could have some extra stuff. You maybe clip it on the inside of your shirt, or put it in your shirt pocket, or something like that.
Right. Yeah. It looks like those little packs that they use for the remote mics, like on television broadcasts and stuff like that.
Okay.
Definitely smaller than or nicer, more convenient than a GoPro, but my only thing is I wear glasses and I just can't use contact lens. Their cut lenses for this start around, I think, $200.
Oh,
and
wow.
for the photograys or the color changing lenses are like $350.
Wow.
So that's a chunk of change for the glass part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not having glasses, how does that compare to like some standard glasses? I know insurance usually covers some of that, or different things come into play, but how much out of range is that price?
Well, actually, if you take all the insurance and stuff out, with the lenses, probably about right, especially because I like the photograys or the color-changing glasses.
Uh-huh.
So it's probably right about the cost of a regular set of, not the really, really cheap sport glasses, but the, a mid-range set of sport eyeglasses.
Okay. Well, that's good. Good to know.
Yeah, if my optometrist could get them, that would be better, because then I could definitely use my insurance.
Now, I wonder if, kind of like Ryan said, they're kind of Oakley styled. I wonder if they just went ahead and just used the Oakley lenses just to make it easier, since there's already lenses available for the Oakley. I'm not sure if
I think they're
be able to do that.
You'd see the Oakley logo if it was some kind of collaboration using their frames.
Yeah.
They'd have to pay royalties and all that crap.
Yeah.
And then the price will go up.
No, I'll do it for free. They're not wanting to make money.
Yeah. So then, obviously, you can record audio as well with your video. The onboard mic is a 44.1 kilohertz onboard AAC mono mic. So obviously, you're not going to be recording podcast quality audio from the Firearms Radio Network, but it's going to be pretty good. I think that I picked this because there's a lot of camera glasses out there, but a lot of them are really gimmicky and more of the novelty of, oh, it's a spy camera or spy glasses. But these actually look like they've got some decent specs on them that would turn out some pretty good video if you were trying to do them, whatever your activity was, snowboarding, skiing, boating, shooting, fishing, going to a sporting event. The Hawaiian Tropics swimsuit contest, any of the above, they'd work just fine on.
Hey, they have night vision?
No, probably not.
Oh, I mean stripper vision? I mean night vision? Sorry.
But, it's got white balance settings, so you can set it to incandescent, sunrise, sunset, fluorescent, sunny, hazy, cloudy, heavily overcast, blue sky, or outdoor. So, if you live in Washington like myself, you can probably just leave it on heavily overcast, 90% of the year, and you'd be just fine. But if you're down in Oregon, like bad.
Do these have an ISO ballistic rating by any chance?
As far as the lenses being resistant to impact?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder what the rating is.
That's a good question.
I feel like
Did you pull that?
would brag that I think it's ISO 9000. I'm not.
Yeah, I don't see that.
Actually, I think that's wrong.
I wouldn't think so.
I was wondering about that too.
Yeah,
Unless
they're
you're
not about the lenses on here.
Okay.
Yep, I don't think so. But the field of view is 77 degrees. So in case you're wondering, exactly when you're looking out in front of you, what degree of field you're gonna get, it's about 77. I don't know what's actual human eyesight. What's the human degree of vision?
It's about 180, or maybe 170 or something, right?
Maybe if you're I don't know. I thought 180 was more like herbivores.
I don't know. I'm just guessing.
I mean, unless you met my one sister-in-law, no, it's not 180.
Oh, I knew that was going to be in there somewhere. I think it's from Wikipedia, which obviously you know what's going to be accurate. I think this said between 95 and 75. So I think they did take your sister into account. Field of view, 75 degrees downward, 60 degrees toward the nose, 60 degrees upward, allowing humans to have an almost 180-degree forward-facing horizontal field of view. So, Rob, you won the day because you had the correct answer. 180.
According to Wikipedia.
According to Wikipedia. So there's that asterisk that I'm going to have engraved in your medal. So.
You and Pete Rose get an asterisk.
And then as far as getting the data onto a computer, it uses a micro USB port. It does have an auto-off configurable setting, so 3 minutes to 5 minutes to never, as far as saving battery life. You can configure the button push settings to be short or long. And the rechargeable battery is 3.7 volts lithium, and charging you would use that same micro USB port.
Now you mentioned using a USB to transfer it. It looks like they have what they call an air sync, which I guess you kind of like Rob mentioned a little while ago. You plug it in via a USB cord. You could, I guess, have it syncing to like a cloud storage or something along those lines. I didn't fully look into it, but she just says AirSync can hold up to 6 hours of 1080p video, and it's got a controller via an app on your phone, so you can change all your settings. It's just kind of like a little box that doesn't have much input, but you can control it via apps. So kind of cool, like some external storage and backup. You're trying to get a little more life out of it.
Yep, that's iOS and Android, as well as Windows and Mac, so it's flexible no matter what software you're running.
Yep, cool.
Yep. So that is this show. That's all the products. Wanted to make sure to plug the September 19th Bullpup Shoot in Mount Carroll, Illinois. If you're going to be in the Illinois area on September 19th, make sure you head on over to bullpupshoot.com and figure out how you can join. It's going to be a lot of fun. A lot of Firearms Radio Network guys are going to be there shooting some awesome bullpups, so make sure you check that out. And what's going on with the Second is for Everyone diversity shoots, Tony?
Second is for everyone. The Second is for Everyone diversity shoot kicks off at 6 o'clock on September 17th at Gun for Hire Range in Woodland Park, New Jersey. It's going to be a lot of people there. It's $25 per hour to shoot at the range. That's the range fees. And I'm going to have some kick butt raffles for $5 a piece. You get gear from Larry Vickers, signed by Larry Vickers. You get gear from Springfield Armory. It's a lot of stuff going on. Come out. It's going to be a lot of guns, a lot of fun, over 200 guns to rent. And we're going to have a good time. We also have some handouts from various corporate sponsors. And I have the New Jersey NRA that usually provides me with newsletters, ANJRPC. Come out, get educated on how to join a Second Amendment fight, and join a group and shoot a lot of guns with a diverse group of people. Thanks a lot for listening to me babble every week.
Yeah. You can show up and shoot Tony's Disco Peter. Or Dissipator.
Oh, whatever, haterade boy. Shoot your little AK. With your Magpul magic.
So send questions or comments or hate mail to podcast@firearmsinsider.tv or cross@firearmsradio.tv. Remember to subscribe and leave an iTunes review. We're definitely, next week is going to be the 100th episode, and I will be doing a giveaway. I'm holding that product right in my hand, but it's a little too early to show you guys, so we're going to be announcing that next week. It'll be something like to do with Facebook as well as iTunes reviews, because I really want to get, of course, keep the iTunes reviews coming in, because that helps us a lot with how we show up in the podcast feeds, but also get some more likes and followers on the Firearms Insider Facebook page. That would be awesome. So we're going to give away a super sweet prize. The only clue I'm going to give you is that this would be a fantastic upgrade to your AR-15, and it's just going to be a nice upgrade to your AR-15. That's all I'm going to say.
A full auto lower sear.
What's that?
A full auto sear.
No. No.
A Costa Lotus sticker.
No. It's something that'll work, suit you at the range, suit you for competition, and it's gonna help make you hopefully a better shooter, I guess. Which I guess that's really vague still. I'm just gonna not give any more clues. So check out all the other shows on the Firearms Radio Network at firearmsradio.tv/iTunes, and be sure to visit the Firearms Insider website for reviews and for future industry coverage. So thanks, guys, for joining me again on another podcast. I really appreciate it.
Okay, cool. Great to be out.
Thanks for having me.
Yep,
Yeah.
it was a good time, Ryan.
Yeah, I'll catch you guys on episode 100 next week, which will be a suppressors special. So, shh. It's all about suppressors. Wow. We're going to be whispering the whole time. So, see you guys next week.
See you, Ryan.
Yep.
Be good.